Y'all, so we're back. We're about to put this gear that I showed y'all in the first video. We're gonna put it to use, and I'm gonna show you how to use it. So we got our helmet on, we got our gloves on, which is whatever y'all want to do with the gloves. We got our lanyard on, we got our saddle / harness on, we got our spurs and pads on. Everything's good. We got our good boots on, climbing boots. So now we're getting ready to throw a line in the tree, and we're going to pull up our climbing rope and get it. I'm going to show you how to tie the knot for a basic knot. A taut line hitch is what it's called. And we're going to start spurring up this tree. This is a tree that we're probably going to be taking down, so please just know that we're not, this tree will probably be coming down, so don't get on to me, okay? Alright, I'm going to take my helmet off for this. Alright, we want to get it up in a good high position. For this demonstration, I'm only going about 15 feet or so. I'm just going to go over this first limb up here. These things, you can chunk these things a good 60 foot if you know what you're doing. There we go. Gonna let that come all the way back down to the ground. Take my gloves off for a second. Alright, now that you got your line over the limb that you're going for, if not, you just shoot it until you get it over the limb that you want, your desired limb. So I'm going to tie up my knot that I have here. You can pull your climbing rope up with the ball still on here. I just like to take it off because sometimes this thing will get hung in a limb or so, and it's just difficult. So I'm just going to set this to the side. And remember, y'all, this is not my typical climbing rope. I typically wouldn't climb on this, but on this demonstration, this is what I'm going to use. You also, if you have frayed ends like this, you would want to cut this back and tape it, heat it up. But I think we will be okay in this demonstration. If you don't cut it, what will happen sometimes is that frayed end right there will get hung. Alright, so I'm just going to tie a little granny knot, but then after that I'm going to follow up with several half hitches. So I'm going to fold my line over and I'm going to roll it into a half hitch and put the tail of it through that half hitch. And that's going to get a good bite on that rope. Okay. Then I'm going to do that one more time. Sometimes you might do that 4 or 5 times, depending on your situation. But for this one right here, I'm just going right there. I should be fine. But see, typically, you see how fluffy that is? That can get caught. Hopefully it won't in this. I'm going to pull this all nice and tight. This feels good. So now I'm going to go ahead and start pulling my rope up. Alright, show them how that rope's coming up through that crotch. When it gets about right there, give it a good yank. There we go. That zipped right over that limb, didn't get hung up. That's exactly what we were looking for. Alright, now I'm just going to undo these little half hitches. Alright, set that down there. Alright, so now we got a good climbing spot. I'm going to try to go around some of these little bitty. There we go. Alright, so now so your rope's going to be moving like this as you're going up the tree. And that's why this thing's called double rope. There's 2 parts of the rope going over the crotch. Okay. And the word that I was looking for earlier was, you got MRS, moving rope system, and then you have what originally it was called DRT, double rope technique. So, all right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie my tail end to my climbing spot, my bridge, my ring on my bridge. And to do that, I'm going to pull the rope through the ring, and I'm going to make sure I got a good bit of tail right here, because I'm going to use this tail to tie off to the other part, the main part of the rope. So I'm going to give it a good 3 foot of length, okay? And then I'm going to come back down here, I'm going to tie a square knot. So to tie a square knot, I'm going to go around, I'm going to feed that through. Alright, tighten that up. And then that rope went around this way, so I'm going to actually take this rope now back around the other way. There we have it. It's a good old square knot. Tighten that up nice and tight. Alright, that's nice and tight. I ain't going nowhere. We want that nice and tight. And if you have a carabiner, if you already have a carabiner to clip onto this ring, it's nice to clip this to your carabiner. And then you don't have to retie this knot every time if you don't want to. You can just unclip it and then put your rope up, and that knot never comes undone if you want it to be that way. And also, if you need to bypass something and your lanyard in, then you can unclip that carabiner. This right here, you have to untie the whole system. All right. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put this knot in a good comfortable position where you can work it. You don't want this knot way up here. You don't want it way down low. I always say a good 6 inches roughly is a good place for it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go around the back side of the main part of your rope. So take the tail, go around the back side, come all the way around and go under. Go under. Okay, we're going to loop that twice. So that's once, and that's twice. I might not have enough tail for what I'm going to do, so I might have to readjust this real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust it a little bit. So that's going to be plenty. Tie that nice and tight that way. Go back around the opposite way. That's going to create your square knot. Nice and tight. Tighten that all up. Dress it up. All right, good. All right, back to this. 6 inches roughly. 6, 8 inches, something like that. Go around once. Okay, the back side. Do another complete. Here we go. To the back side. Bam. That's going to be your second one. Now we're going to go up above this. Okay, we're going to go up above it and tuck it into itself. So go around the back side again. Tuck it in right here. Then we're going to go below that one. So not on top, but below. We're going to go around and back through the center again, just like that. Then we're going to tighten all this back up. This is what you call dressing the knot. So we're going to get it all nice from the bottom one all the way up to the top one. Make sure those loops are nice and tight. Let's try that. Tighten it up. That feels much tighter. There we go. Now both of my feet are off the ground. So this is your basic knot. You can also do a Blake's hitch, but I've always climbed on the taut line. It has done really good for me. Will you hand me my helmet right here, please? Now kind of bear with me. I haven't done, man, I worked on this knot when I first started climbing probably for the first 2.5 to 3 years that I was tree climbing. And I'm gonna grab my saw because I'm actually gonna cut in the tree. I got my saw lanyard over here. This saw is the 540 top handle saw, Husqvarna. It is a battery operated saw. It is pretty nice. But we're not talking about saws today, we're talking about tree climbing specifically. So let's stick to that. All right, so now that I got my knot's nice and tight. I'm gonna put my lanyard, make sure everything's over here. I'm gonna put my lanyard around the tree, like so. Let your system, or let your rope be outside your system. It really don't matter. Some people like it inside, some people like it outside. So your climbing line can be on the inside, or it can be on the outside. For this particular case, I'm gonna leave it on the outside. I'm gonna clip my lanyard. I'm gonna put my lanyard around the tree. Now, this is where, so you don't want to be too far away from your tree. Obviously, you can't even spur into it. But it's gonna be really funny whenever you're sucked up to the tree too much as well. You want to be a perfect distance to where you're able to lean back enough to where your spurs naturally would dig into the tree at a slanted angle. So if you're too close to the tree like this and you try to go to spur in, you're spurring more down, and that's going to cause you to not get a good bite in the tree. It's going to allow you to kick out and what they call spurring out or gaffing out, and then you can slip, you can fall, you'll rub all this up against the tree. It just won't feel very good. It won't be pleasant. So make sure that you have a good bit of distance right here, but not too much. You don't want to be way out. You don't want to be sucked in too much. So I got my lanyard here. Let me show you a little something on this side over here. With this quick adjust that I talked about earlier, this right here allows you to go back, and right when you let go, it stops, it holds you. It puts a lot of tension on this right here to where you can't slip no more. Now to bring you closer, you just put a hand close to around the trunk of the tree, or whatever, just kind of hug the tree, and then you'll take the tail and just go like that, and once you put your weight on it, it stops. Okay, so kind of pay attention to me, and I'll talk more about that as I'm climbing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put my spur into the tree, one spur at a time. There's one, and if you notice, I'm not starting way up here. I'm not taking a big bite. Take small bites, okay? So there's one. Here we go. There's two. Now I'm leaned back. I'm leaned back in my saddle. I have my lanyard nice and even with my hips. This is where you would want your lanyard, either hips, or if you can go above. I'm gonna pull myself in and go ahead and flip it one time for y'all. This feels even better if I'm able to sit back in my lanyard a lot better, with a lot more comfort. If I come back down here, it's not bad, but it doesn't feel as good as it being up here. Okay, now you never want your lanyard, if you can help it, to be lower to your hips, because it's putting a lot of pressure pulling down on your hips, and it just makes for a rough journey in the tree. So It puts pressure on your hips. It'll make you tired a lot quicker, especially whenever you're first starting out. This is all about technique. There's technique in everything, and especially in tree climbing. So we're gonna flip this back up, get that weight off of our hips, which puts pressure on our feet, our knees, and everything else below our hips. Also around your lower back and all that stuff. All right, so my climbing line's loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up. I'm gonna pull down. All right, now I got some pressure here. I'm gonna slide that knot up. All right, now that feels good. Now my lanyard and my climbing line are working in tandem with one another. They're working together, which makes for even more comfort in the tree. So when I take this off, it puts a little more pressure on everything else. It puts more pressure on my legs, like my spurs, where I'm spurred into the tree. It puts a lot more pressure. So whenever I have a climbing line, it takes a lot of that pressure, a lot of it, a good percentage. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I would imagine a good 30% for sure. Like, it takes a lot of, if not more, takes a lot of weight off of that. And the more, like right now, if I want to, I can really, like right now, I'm putting very little, like most of my weight is on this. I'd say 80% of my weight is on my climbing line now. So that's something that you are gonna have to play with a little bit. But let me go ahead and start climbing this tree, and you'll see. One, I'm not taking big bites. I'm just going up a couple inches at a time. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up my climbing line real quick. So I'm gonna pull down, slide my knot up, get my glove out of there, pull down, slide my knot up. All right, now nice. Let's see here. I'm in a good working position. I want to maybe do a little trimming on this back side right here. Get this limb out of my way. Got that out of my way. Make it a lot easier for my flip line to come up. Got back in the holster. I'm gonna spur up a couple more times. One. So I was right here. I went from here to here, so a good 3 inches, roughly. I'm gonna spur up again. I'm gonna put my hands on my lanyard and put all my weight up against my saddle. Step up like you're stepping climbing a ladder. So here we go. I'm shifting all my weight to this leg, this foot, everything on this side. All right, and I got a good angle, so my spur's going into the tree. I'm not stabbing down, I'm stabbing inward and down at the same time. Here we go, stepping up, spur. And you're stepping solid, like you're stabbing the tree pretty good, okay? All right, so my climbing line's a little loose. Let's go ahead and tighten it up. Bam, bam. All right, here we go. I'm gonna lift I want this to stay up here as much as I can. I want a good experience in the tree, okay? Here we go. So I'm going to flip it up. Now I'm gonna repeat the cycle. Now let me show you what this can look like in kind of fast motion without me explaining it to you. Just kind of watch me for a second. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and use the tree if you want to. Use your lanyard. This is all meant for you to use. Use whatever makes it easier for you. All right, here we go. Stepping up. All right, now going to adjust my climbing line. That's good. Now I'm gonna adjust my lanyard. Bring my lanyard up. All right, I got a little limb right here in my way. I'm gonna pull it out. All right, this right here is dangling. So we're gonna get rid of that, okay? And like I said, we're really gonna get rid of this whole tree. I'm gonna shift my body over to my left side. So I'm gonna push with my right leg and I'm gonna re-stab. Like, one thing I noticed is this nub right here is keeping me from going further that way. So I'm gonna come on the other side of that, get that out of my way. Here we go. Stab, stab. There we go. Now we're on that side of it. Climbing line's loose. Let's go ahead and tighten that up. Now we're nice and tight. So we're good there on our climbing line. We're good with our lanyard. Let's go ahead and move our lanyard up. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pull ourselves up. Use whatever you hold on to the tree if you want to, but I would recommend, as you're starting out, to just lean back and trust your gear. Okay, trust your gear. Like, trust your spurs. They're in the tree good. Stab good every time. Stab really good. Make sure your climbing line's nice and tight. Sit back in your climbing line. Sit back in your saddle and your lanyard. All right, we're gonna go ahead and flip our lanyard up some. Oh man, that feels good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this stuff out of my way real quick. So I'm gonna use my battery operated saw for that. Put my earmuffs on, my shield. Cut it in a couple sections. I don't want to be this far below that limb whenever I'm cutting it, so I'm going to actually come up above it. Tighten my climbing line up here. So I want to get all this stuff out of my way. All right, here we go. All right, cut that nut off. Perfect. And see, like, perfect example. You see how my lanyard is pulling me down? It's at a downward angle, and it caused me to slip out. It was putting a lot of pressure on me, so I'm going to flip that back up here. All right, stab good, stab good. Tighten my climbing line. All right, now we're at a limb. We want to get up here. We want to get on the other side of this limb right here. So what are we going to do? We're going to trust our climbing line. And you can do two things. Some people climb with 2 lanyards and a climbing line. I'm not doing any cutting or anything right now, so all I'm doing is bypassing. I personally feel comfortable with taking my lanyard off and go ahead and flipping it around. But if you don't, that is perfectly fine. Have another lanyard on you to bypass before you take this one off. And that would be the proper way of doing it, to be honest with you. But this is just how I climb, and so I trust my climbing line. We're good in this particular situation, so I'm gonna go ahead and bypass it, come around, and I'm like, all my weight's on my climbing line right now. Spur in good, okay? Always remember, spur in good, spur in good. Always spur in good. Don't take these little bitty baby steps. All right. So, gonna keep going up. Just a little bit more for this demonstration. I'm kind of far back. The higher you go up the tree gets smaller in diameter. So you're going to want to pull some of that slack in, or some of this in, because I'm too far away from the tree. So I'm going to pull this back, or suck it in. That's a little better. Tighten my climbing line up. All right. So I know this is just a small demonstration. That's all this was meant to be, is to show y'all how this gear works properly. And so, like, yeah, like, I did a little cutting, but that's really not what this video is about. I will do a video on proper cuts and saws and all that stuff, okay? But we're starting from the beginning. We are starting from just what do you even need to do tree climbing? Well, now you know. Now you know. So I'm gonna rappel down. I'm gonna show you how that works. I'm just gonna tell you, man, most people do it this way that I'm about to do it. But other people are going to tell you the safest way to do it, and they're right. The safest way of doing it would be to leave your lanyard on and rappel down with your lanyard, okay? Alright, so I'm just going to walk down the tree. I'm kind of going to come to the opposite side. It's going to help me, but it really don't matter. Like, check it out. Alright, so trust your climbing equipment. Should be, and this knot's not moving any, you should be able to do that your gear, okay? That's what I'm saying. Let me undo all this. I'm just going to undo my knot. So that safety knot really keeps all that from coming apart. So I'm going to apart easily. Put my lanyard back. I'll always leave my lanyard. Not everybody does. Some people like to take everything off their saddle. I don't. I usually just clip it all. Now I do always take my saw off. But my chainsaw lanyard, I just put it right back on my clip there. Guys, I'm not the most sophisticated climber out there. I've been climbing, let's see, probably about 9 years or so. And by the grace of God, I've had very minor, like I've cut my thumb here. I've also cut my thumb right here. But very minor incidents, by the grace of God, very thankful. And I just take my time. I don't get in a rush. This stuff is considered one of the most dangerous jobs in America. It's like the second most dangerous job in America, if I'm not mistaken. It might be number one. But so take this stuff serious. I mean, it is very fun. It is fun. I can't tell you all trees are fun though. Like to do a little tree removal like this would be fun. There's nothing to it. But anyway, I just want to show you all the basic stuff. I apologize, I don't just have all the most technical terms for everything. I'm just teaching y'all simply how to get some decent gear like spurs and boots and saddle and lanyards and climbing rope and your helmet and stuff. And just, you can go to westspur.com for that, or treestuff.com. And I'm just trying to teach you how to get into a tree safely. And remember, guys, this tree more than likely is coming down. So it getting spurred up isn't going to hurt it any. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already watched part 1, go watch part 1, because that's going to explain the gear and everything. And then watch part 2, and y'all stay safe out there. Like don't go do anything crazy. Like know your limits, right? Know your limits. Never get up to a limb I had a guy who had his lanyard around the tree, and he was just climbing. He did not have his climbing rope hooked up. He had it on him, but he didn't have it hooked up to the tree yet. And oftentimes people do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with climbing up to the top of the tree without a climbing line. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you have 2 lanyards on you when you do it, so you can bypass limbs and everything safely, right? But I would also recommend, though, whenever you go to bypass limbs, use your climbing line. Throw it up a limb above you and tie it up before you bypass if you have to. But all he had was his lanyard, and there was a limb coming out. Well, you can't get past that limb unless you unclip. He didn't have 2 lanyards, and he didn't want to take the time to throw his climbing line up or anything like that. He didn't want to do none of that. So what he did was he was spurred into the tree. Let me show you what he did here. I'm not going to go much higher than this, but he was like this, and I'm going to spur in really good. But there was a limb right here he wanted to bypass. So what you would typically do in a situation like that is you would pull yourself up to the tree, you would unclip, throw your lanyard around that limb, and then clip it back to yourself. And then you're good, right? Or so you think. Well, what he did was, he did exactly that, but he thought he had clipped it did something like that. He didn't make sure it shut all the way. And whenever he set back, and he fell 55 feet out of the tree. Yeah, it busted him up really good. He lived. By the grace of God, he lived. But it did bust him up really good. And so, just make sure you are staying safe out there. Take the time to do things proper. And tie in the way that you're supposed to tie in and things like that. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, I'm like, do this stuff at your own risk. Do it at your own risk. Like, go and have fun with it, but do it at your own risk. I'm certainly not going to be responsible for anyone who gets up in a tree and falls. You know, that's just make sure that you guys are taking the time to do things proper. Okay, take this stuff serious. It is very, very serious. And it's serious enough just tree climbing. Next we'll get into tree climbing and cutting and rigging, and that just takes it to a whole nother level. So please, y'all, be safe out there. God bless y'all. If you like the video, subscribe, like, ring the little notification bell. You'll get the other videos that come out. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.